Macmillan Audio presents The Billionaire Boondoggle. How our politicians let corporations and bigwigs steal our money and jobs. By Pat Garofalo. Read for you by the author.
Introduction: The Billionaire Boondoggle. Are you not entertained? So asks Russell Crowe's character, Maximus Decimus Meridius, in the 2000 movie Gladiator, a moment that lives on today in eternal internet GIF fame. The film is built around the concept of the Roman Colosseum and the spectacles that famously took place in those ancient arenas, as a way to placate and distract citizens with what the Roman poet Juvenal derided as bread and circuses. Today's entertainment industry is quite a bit different. No one's being fed to any lions, and even mixed martial arts can't match gladiatorial combat when it comes to sheer bloodletting. More important, the government is generally not in the business of organizing violent displays to keep the plebeians from rioting in the streets. But don't think that means the government is out of the entertainment business entirely. No, the biggest entertainment corporations in America today are very much entangled with lawmakers at every level, from federal on down to local. However, public money is spent not on keeping citizens happy to ensure that they are pliant, but on keeping corporate leaders happy so they continue making campaign donations and don't threaten to move their businesses to some other jurisdiction. Your tax dollars bolster the entertainment industry's bottom line in an unholy convergence of private and public. And that's merely the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the many ways corporate America makes off with your money while not creating the jobs it promises. Consider these stories. In the spring of 2018, if you had taken the Green Line in Washington, D.C. to the Navy Yard stop on a Tuesday night, then followed the sea of red and blue hats up onto the street, you'd likely be headed to a Washington Nationals game, barring some oddly placed political protests that evening. The Nats, as they're known, have called America's capital home since 2005, when the Major League Baseball franchise left Montreal, depriving Canada of the Expos. They've played in Nationals Park on the shores of the Anacostia River since the 2008 season. The area around Nats Park, the shorthand favored by D.C. residents for the rather nondescript stadium, is up and coming with hip new apartment buildings, fancy restaurants, and chain coffee shops, as well as the constant presence of construction equipment. Both a brewery and a winery are within shouting distance. A lot of people, from city council members to D.C. sports writers, think all that development is thanks to the stadium. And they make their case constantly since the city paid to have Nats Park built. The sticker price of the stadium was about $700 million, but once interest and other costs are factored in, Washington will have coughed up about $1 billion for the privilege of having an MLB facility within its borders. To convince taxpayers in the city to pay up, especially since D.C. has its fair share of non-baseball problems and advocates clamoring for money to solve them, the story told by the stadium's boosters was that it would revitalize a part of D.C. that desperately needed some economic activity, juicing development thanks to an influx of fans and their money. And new stuff is cropping up in that part of town every day, so mission accomplished, right? Not so fast. Disney's The Avengers made well more than $1 billion at the box office. That's not a bad return on a $220 million budget. Actor Robert Downey Jr. alone was paid some $50 million for reprising his role as Iron Man in the film, and the multiple sequels that followed made billions more. Those are big numbers, but another one nowhere near as large should be just as eye-popping. $22 million. That's how much New Mexico provided to the Avengers in film subsidies, tax breaks essentially, even as the state was dealing with budget woes that required it to cut a plethora of government services, including funding for both pre-K and higher ed. Those in favor of the subsidies argued that giving public money to blockbuster film productions would turn New Mexico into a second Hollywood, as former Governor Gary Johnson put it, providing jobs to New Mexicans who wouldn't have them otherwise, and creating an entire industry where there had previously been nothing at all. Scores of folks who would have had to move elsewhere for work could instead stay in New Mexico as an industry sprang up from the ground. People who previously had no interest in the state would flock in, fleeing the high taxes in places such as California and New York. It would be a win-win for taxpayers, workers, and industry alike, and all for the relatively low cost of a few tax incentives. The case against? We could have spent that...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?